What's up, everybody? It's Ezekiel with Shoe Slide, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today because today we're going to be interviewing a very special guest. We're going to be talking to Alan Tershkop from Cobblers Plus here in Denver. We're going to be talking to Alan about how to properly maintain and care for classic leather shoes. Specifically, we're going to be talking about how and when to replace your leather soles, what to look for that indicates your soles should be replaced, and what that process looks like. So come on in and we'll talk to Alan about this. Alan, how you doing? Thank you for having us today.
Thank you for stopping by.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Do you mind telling our viewers just a little bit about Cobblers Plus and your history as a cobbler?
So, Cobblers Plus, we haven't been around for too long, at least where we're at right now. But in general, I'm a second generation cobbler, so I've done this my entire life. We used to be under a different name when my parents had started out. I had opened up this location almost 5 years ago, and we have picked the name Cobblers Plus because we do a number of work on footwear and other leather goods as well, so that's where the plus comes in. It was kind of a name that we picked with a buddy cobbler of mine as well. But otherwise, for us, our key thing is we're always trying to grow, expand, try to bring in the best of the best that we can, whether it's materials, individuals that we work with, products and services. And for us, we're not very stingy on where every job that comes in we have to get our hands on and do it. We'd rather be honest with you and educate you on the product and shoes that you have as best we can, and from that you can make an informed decision on what direction you want to take your repair, whether you do it or not. We're not going to get upset. We'd much rather have you have a product that's going to last you for possibly decades, if not even generations, which, yes, we do have some shoes that have come through here handed down multiple generations.
All right, Alan. Well, thanks again, and thank you for telling us a little bit about Cobblers Plus and your history. That is impressive that you're a second generation cobbler. I got to say that we really need crafts people like yourself.
Yeah.
I know that for me, it's been difficult finding someone that I can trust with my shoes, and it's been a pleasure working with you. You do some of the finest shoe work that I've seen, and I do want to talk about, Alan, we've had quite a few questions come into Shoe Slide about number one, people are kind of, when they're new to shoes, they're kind of taken aback by the fact that they actually have to replace the soles. For people coming into the shoe world, and maybe they've gone from a disposable type shoe where they just get a new pair of shoes every year, and then they invest a few hundred dollars in a nicer shoe like an Allen Edmond, and then they realize, well, I just dropped a few $100 and now I got to replace the sole. But what I did want you to speak about a little bit to that point is, what are some signs on when we would want to replace a leather sole, such as what we have here on this Allen Edmond wingtip? How would a shoe owner realize, okay, yeah, it's probably time for me to take it in? And how often do you think that would have to be done?
It really varies depending on the person wearing them. I mean, a person, say a gentleman that's about 150 pounds, is not going to wear out their sole as quickly as a person that may be pushing 280. That's one thing to consider. The other thing is everyone has a different posture and the way they walk. But no matter who you are, over 90% of people usually wear out the heel first. That's a simple fix. Thankfully, it's not an expensive one. You have a lot of options, varieties you can do on, but usually that outer edge there, because that's first point of impact when you're stepping down, and you have that really microscopic drag where it wears down the heel a lot faster. And that's just the heel, but once we start getting into the sole area, there are a lot of variables, again, depending on the individual who wears them and stuff. The time frame on it, we have customers that have come through here that can wear out a pair of soles in 8 months. We have customers that will literally have that same sole for 5-6 years before it wears out. But average, I would honestly say maybe about 2 years is what I would say with a leather sole, like on an Allen Edmond. That's a Goodyear welted design.
That is very accurate for me. I know I do my soles every 2 years, and exactly like you said, I definitely wear out the heel first, just because I think that's how I initially land on the heel. But I would say I do these about every 2 years, and I do I'll go into this in depth a little bit further on, but there really is benefit to investing in a well-made shoe, even though it might cost you a little bit more up front, say 300 or so, as opposed to maybe an $80-90 pair of shoes. But in the long run, when you have a shoe like this that can last you decades, and you're only getting the sole replaced every other year, every 2 years, when you're looking at it over a time span of 20 years or so, you've really come out ahead instead of spending $80 to $90 every year. In the long run, you're actually saving money by going this route with the nicer pair of shoes. So let's take a look here. I know that you have some other pointers as to maybe feeling the leather, and that might be an indicator as well as when you need to replace the sole, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, when we start considering the fact that there's a number of variables to consider, first things first is about 1 out of 3 to maybe 1 out of 4 people will wear out their toes. That's the first thing you want to look at to see if it's wearing out at an angle a little bit much there, if it's getting close to that welt. The welt is that other piece of leather that a lot of people see. They might not know what welt is, but if they see 2 pieces of leather and they see one of them's getting worn down too close to the other one, that's usually the first indicator we recommend to keep an eye out for. Second one is taking a look at the sides, same story there if it's getting close. And then the one that always tricks a lot of people there is if you're somebody that tends to wear out the ball of the foot, which in your case, you have a nice wear pattern where you're wearing out both the ball of the foot and the toes very, very well. But for the ball of the foot area, obviously if you have a hole in there, that's an indicator immediately. But if you're not quite sure and there's no hole yet, just pressing down on that leather, you can stick your hand inside and see if you kind of feel your finger pressing into the other finger a little bit there. It feels a little bit spongy, a little bit springy. It's definitely a good time to do that because you're about ready to break a hole through there. And if you wear a hole through, there is a higher potential of causing more damage, not only to the shoe, but even your foot potentially too.
Great tips. I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for that because, like you said, my wear pattern is pretty even, and I did not know until I came in here today, and you showed me how to actually, put some pressure on there and feel if that has been thinned out. And as we found out just now, I definitely need to get these replaced before the hole starts to wear through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the heels were the first one. You had a set of shoe trees in here, cedar shoe trees, which from first grab, when you grab the shoe, you see the heel that it's worn out. Looking at it, it's like, oh, maybe the sole can hold off a little longer. But when we got the shoe tree out finally, we could actually feel that springy feel where the leather's just kind of soft there.
Yeah, great pointers. Another thing, Alan, so with the heel, if there's other folks out there like me that really kind of wear their heels down quickly, you can replace just the heel part as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a simple fix and not very expensive. The only thing is that, we try not rushing it. Some people come in and say, can you do this while I wait? I recommend at least let the adhesives cure. But otherwise, not as big of a job and will save you a lot in the long run as well.
Great. Good to know. All right. So what does the actual process of replacing the sole, what does that entail? I know it's a big job, but how?
So shoes will vary significantly as you have here as an Allen Edmond. It's a beautiful construction. This is what's called a Goodyear welted shoe, so that's your best quality build out there. Then you've got other tiers where it's like Blake stitches below that, then there's the tiered version, and then there's the molded soles, which are kind of your cheaper standard ones that are comfy out of the box but don't have much life expectancy. Got a pair of Allen Edmonds that are very similar here to yours that we've been breaking down, and this one's still in the process, but with a Goodyear welted shoe, we end up being able to cut off the sole here down to the welt, and the welt is what the sole is stitched to, and remove the cork. This one is still in the process of getting all the cork removed. We'll check the shanks and just check over everything. If we have to stitch it, we'll do that. Finally, afterwards, we'll refill that cork, and the cork is what gives you your support, your cushion, your insulation, and helps fill in that void area there where the Goodyear welted area is stitched to it. After that's filled in, then depending on the type of sole option you end up picking, we'll have to take the next step of reattaching either a midsole or a leather sole. Once we got the midsole on there, then we can put on another version of a rubber sole over top of that. Or again, if it's a leather sole, we just adhere that, do all the trimming, stitch it all together, and then finally start attaching the heel base, replacing that top lift, and finishing out the edges. But with a Goodyear welted shoe, your options are pretty much limited. Some people think, oh, because it's a quality shoe, it has to have leather. That's not a necessity. You can have rubber soles. Your options are actually very, very widespread at that point. And whatever you need, we can accommodate with a good quality pair of shoes. And when it's time to resole, if you change your mind, you can switch over from rubber to leather or vice versa.
That's excellent. And I have another pair of Allen Edmonds that I got resold. My wife actually got them done for me as a gift, and she didn't realize that I prefer leather, so she got rubber on there, and I wore through the rubber, and I got them resold again, and now they have leather again. So definitely something to take note of, that you can really change the shoe up if you please. And with this type of welt, there's just so much to talk about with welts, and maybe we can have a conversation on that at a different point in time. But it is really neat to see how much goes into that, the actual construction of the shoe and the replacement of the sole. Very nice.
Yeah, and if we get into the welts, that's a whole new category there for you there.
Yeah, that is great. And so, Alan, after you replace the sole, then you typically also clean up the upper of the shoe, right?
Yeah, we definitely do. Actually, during the repair process, a lot of times what we like to do is, once we have the sole off and we've got the cork cleaned up, we actually like cleaning up the shoe inside and outside with a vinegar-based cleaner, which is very gentle to help remove any salts, such as sweat from your feet or chemicals that may be outside that may potentially cause damage to the leathers. So we'll clean it up. That's a perfect opportunity. We'll stick them on some shoe trees and let it, reform the shoe just a little bit, and we'll try to get some of the creasing out. At the end of it all, once we've got the new edging on there, after trimming and sanding and all that, we'll condition them and add a little bit of a buffing coat of wax on there. And then you've got other stages if you want something more particular done with the uppers. If you want a full-on treatment, then get them prepared for winter time with waterproofing. We could do that as well. But during the process of resoling, we definitely at least do the necessity of extending the life expectancy of these uppers.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I know that after I've gotten my shoes resoled, and once I get it back, it's like getting a new pair of shoes, but actually better, because it's already been broken in. So the upper fits me like a glove. I don't have to go through that whole break-in process, but they do look just amazing after you do the treatment to the upper. And it really is like getting a new pair of shoes every couple of years whenever I need to replace them. And I do, I know that you mentioned the lifespan of a leather sole, and I found that I get 2 years pretty consistently out of my leather soles. So, again, just another thing to take note of as to why this might be a good investment to purchase a nice pair of well-made shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just kind of as a heads up, the expectancy of roughly about on average 2 years of wear, that's just on one version of sole. There's other options that are more premium available these days too, which may extend that life expectancy even longer too. So, just depends on each individual on what they want, and if they like an upgrade, or if they like the feel of the traditional leather sole where it's treated with certain oils and it's a little bit softer.
That is another good point. Yeah, definitely a lot of different options when it comes to soles, even different types of leather soles. And again, I think that might be a larger topic for a different conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good point. Thank you. All right. So thanks so much for your time today, Alan. And I can't recommend enough Cobblers Plus and the work that Alan and his team do here. So if folks want to find you, you're located in Denver.
Yes.
What is your address again?
It's 8000 East Quincy Avenue, Unit 800. We're off of Tamarack and 225 by Micro Center.
That's if you're in Denver, Colorado. And they can also find you online, right?
Yep, at cobblersplus.com. You can get all of our information for being able to mail in footwear as well, get kind of a price estimate, or if you need us send in pictures, you could do it that way too. If you want to check out any of our other images, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube as well.
All right. Thanks so much for your time, Alan.
Absolutely. Thank you.